Hello and welcome everybody to the Nexus Night Owls. I am your host tonight, Balrog Fan. I work for BlizzPro and I do a lot of work for their website. I write guides, I do various, I do shows with them every Tuesday night called the Heroes Power Hour and my own personal show, the Nexus Night Owls. I, of course, do not do this alone because Heroes is no fun when you're by yourself, so I'm going to introduce my 4 other team members that are all very close friends of mine. First off, we got Zeno Ultima. Zeno, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Very, very good.
Good to hear, man. Blitz? Master Blitz?
What's up? I'm doing good.
Good to hear, man. Digitality is here with us as always. How are you doing tonight?
Excellent.
Yes. And then finally, we have our friend from New Zealand, Miss Element Zero. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, so wonderful.
Dr. Element Zero.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Miss Doctor.
How dare you? How dare you?
I screwed the pooch on that one. 2 minutes out of the gate, the show's over. So
Yeah. I'm dropping the mic. I'm out of here.
Alright, so we're going to try doing things a little differently now, just because I keep uploading these massively long episodes to YouTube, and we have people who tune into the chat, and we have a lot of great friends who come in and check us out, and we always have fun, but I'd like to be able to spread the word a little bit more to people who may not know about the show, and I'm going to do that by breaking up the show into smaller portions. So basically, if you are following me on Twitch, you're going to get, during the show, gone offline, or gone online, gone offline, gone online. What I'm going to do is discussion portion, end the stream, turn it on, we'll do a Hero League match, turn it off, turn it on, do another Hero League match, etc. until we're done. This is just going to let me put it up in smaller episodes because I don't have the greatest processor in the world, and it would be really hard for me to edit it and maintain the quality, so that's what we're going to do from now on. We're also assigning various roles and whatnot, so it should be a little bit different moving forward, and I hope that everyone enjoys the changes in the format. So, first off, I just want to talk about where I spend most of my time interacting with other people who like Heroes of the Storm. I know Element and Digitality are both members of this, and it's the Heroes of the Storm Friends page on Facebook. It's run by the admins Ryan Schlitz, Dennis Schmidt, Carl Luganbill, I'm probably butchering that horribly, and Maxwell Laurel. It's a really great group of people, guys. Like, there's just a lot of friendly people on there. I mean, if you're looking for somebody to just play games with, read strategies, find out different information, make jokes with, I think this is the page for you if you're a fan of HOTS. I know Digi and Blood. What are your impressions of the page? What have you learned from it?
Well, I was always really apprehensive at joining Facebook pages for video games just because I never really got into video games really heavily, and I was just really, intimidated by, the elite people, calling me a noob and all that kind of stuff. But that was not the case in this Facebook page, and I'm really glad that I joined. And I got to meet you guys. Yay!
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Digi, what about you?
I think, there's a lot of information being posted on things that drop, and you're going to find a wide variety of skilled players there as well, so you're going to find a group that you can fit into pretty easily.
Yeah, that's what I like, because there's a lot of varying members, or varying levels of skill in the members, and it works great because not everybody has the time to put in a lot of effort, and you might just want to goof around with some friends. I'm also getting word that I have horribly butchered Carl's name, so I'm going to give it one more try. It's Carl Luganbill. Maybe.
You tried.
Hard G, soft G.
Hard G, soft G.
Which one?
That's Luginbel or Luginbel. I think.
Just shut up all you can.
Yes, I'm already ruining this. Oh, he said I got it. Yay me!
But which one? But which one was it?
Probably the first one because there's a delay in the stream.
Oh, okay.
Zeno and Blitz both are not very Facebooky persons, but I do encourage both of you to hop on and maybe just subscribe to this page. And if you're ever looking for someone to play HOTS with all hours of the day, I know you guys run late schedules, so it might be the site for you.
That's the other advantage. Is just the time zones are pretty variable too.
Yeah. If you're like Zeno and Blitz, and typically your workday doesn't end until 6 in the morning, you can hop on, look for some people to play with, and odds are somebody in frickin' Europe is ready to go. And with them recently changing, so you can access various regions. If they're not in North America and you feel like messing around with people on a new account, you can do that. So anyways, Heroes of the Storm friends, and I really want to stress the friends word because don't be a dick going in. Don't come in there with a picture of a meme as your profile pic, shitting on everybody. It's a quick way to get booted out of this group because the admins want people to be friendly. So don't go in there being a dick. We all have fun together, and we really don't need people tearing other people down. That's not what the group is about. Now,
They probably have groups for that. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
If you're in a tearing people down mood, go find a tear people down group.
Yeah, it's called fucking Reddit. Head on there, man.
Heroes of the Storm is a name.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
That's a risky site that I only frequent when no one's looking. We have a tournament going on June 7th, too. Anybody who joins in can go. It's just for fun. Carl set it up, and it's just get 4 people together in the group and go ahead and play in this tournament. It'll be Sunday. I know it's 7 Eastern. I don't know how that translates to other time zones. I just work with my own time zone. So 7 Eastern for me. And come in, join, have some fun, test out your skills, test out playing in a tournament environment with friends when there's not the pressure of prizes or being like on some sort of grand stage. Just it's a nice learning experience regardless of what happens, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm going to be participating probably with Digi and Jack Bandit. Who were the other 2 that Jack had rounded up for us?
Zenta and Finona.
Zenta and Finona. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So Element, do you think you would participate in that? I know, like, I just got pulled into this group that was already pre-made, otherwise you would be in with us right away, but...
Yeah, no, I'd really like to go in there, and I think what is really cool about this tournament is that if you don't have a team, as I don't currently, then they'll just, fix you up with people, so that's always really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have a free agent page where you can list yourself on that.
Oh, that's a really good idea that I wasn't even aware of because I just found out about this literally last night, and I've been fairly busy with work and stuff, so it should be pretty cool to have all those people come in then and play as free agents, have some fun. Everybody's saying my mic is very quiet right now, so yes. I'm going to try and fix that. One moment. Somebody want to jump in here while I get this fixed?
Alright. I'm not certain on how their free agent thing is working out, but it will show. I mean, people that are looking at the tournament, they can see who's available and probably contact you that way.
It has their battle tags listed. It looks like you sign up with your battle tag, and it has all the people who are assigned as free agents listed with their battle tags. So you can get
I'm
in
not sure
contact
whether
with them.
Yeah. So it's people's job to sort of contact another 4 people and say, hey, do you want to be part of my team? Or do they just randomly assign people into a team?
In chat, Carl was mentioning that they took much of the format off of the Heroes Hype setup, Gillyweeds group there. So they've modeled the tournament setup based off of that.
Well, if there's any tournament to model it after, that would definitely be the one, because that's one of my favorites to tune into when I can catch it. Hopefully I sound a lot more clear now. Okay, so yeah, the Heroes of the Storm Friends tournament, that is on battlefy.com/Heroes of the Storm Friends. There's hyphens in between. Well, Heroes hyphen of hyphen the hyphen storm hyphen friends /hots hyphen friends hyphen FB hyphen tournament. I'm sure it would be a lot easier just to go to the webpage and find it. So you should go to the Facebook webpage and look for it. And, Brawley is looking for me to notice him. Hello, Brawley. Everyone who might have tuned in earlier to the show will remember Brawley. He is our Australian Thunder from Down Under, who does not like New Zealanders. So, Lud, go get him.
That's okay. I'm not from New Zealand originally.
Oh,
so
that's
we're
right.
good.
That's good. That's good. Okay.
Dodge that bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That was
Brawley's a peasant.
one of his favorite
Wait,
words.
I'm gonna name one of the things after you, Browley.
Yes.
Things 1 to 3 and Browley.
Things 1, 2, 3, and Brawley. Yes. Nothing can replace Uncle Ruckus, though. That is just forever. Uncle Ruckus is love. So yeah, now moving on. Somebody linked an interesting guide in the Heroes of Storm Friends group that was called "How to Win the Draft." It is a guide to drafting in Hero League in Heroes of the Storm. There's a lot of information in here, and it's a great read. We were going to kind of go over it. Some of us, the overall theme and feel of it, we definitely agree with a lot of that. I think there's just some things that we don't consider. We don't have the same opinions about, pretty much. But the overall feeling of the guide was a very positive one, I think, and most of us really enjoyed it. You can look at this guide at weskimo.com/a guide to drafting.html. Just go to weskimo.com. That's WESKIMO. And he has a lot of different stuff up there. I don't know if it's a group or just the one guy, but they put a lot of good information on their website, and it's definitely worth checking out. So, anyways, let's go. Zeno, I know you've been looking over this a lot. Basically, the sentiment here is you have two kinds of picks you can make, and that's safe/patient picks or strong picks. Why don't you go over what they're saying about that there?
Well, the safe picks are the heroes that don't really have strong counters to them, so you can pick it and not be too worried that your opposing team is going to pick something that's going to completely shut you down. And the ones that are the stronger picks are the heroes that are going to get the most use. However, a lot of those do have very, very powerful counters, so if you pick one of those, and your opponents are trying to counter you, then they'll be able to pick something that will really mess up your day.
Okay. So yeah, and then I think that's a really good way to approach Hero League personally. I think everybody's strong versus safe picks is going to be different. Obviously, Illidan is one of those characters that falls into the strong pick category because he can be really strong, but he's easily countered by Brightwing and has a hard time dealing with Lily. There was also the idea of stealing picks. Blitz, what do you think about like stealing picks? Was that something you'd want to try to do, or?
Quite possibly.
I mean, in general, you can kind of read what like a team's going for sometimes. They discussed if the enemy team picks Rhaegar and Abathur, you should probably go ahead and pick Illidan because we know that Illidan pick's going to be really strong with Rhaegar and Abathur.
Yeah,
the
it
problem,
really.
too, is you're going to have to be good with the guy you're stealing, too. You're going to have to be comfortable enough to actually play them, and you can't just steal for the sake of stealing.
Right.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
As I say, it's really, I mean, if it doesn't upset your entire comp, go ahead with that. Especially if you see something, you got to know the strategies and the compositions that people are putting together for that, so that you know what's coming when you see those picks. And that also plays into the safe picks and stuff like that. You want to protect that early so that they don't steal from you.
Yeah. And the other thing... Oh, go ahead, Element.
I was just going to ask about that because, yeah, it's all good and dandy to steal stuff, but what if the hero doesn't really fit in what you already had pre-planned with your team and how you would sort of still dynamically patch together a strong team whilst countering your opponent's team?
Well, my best bet would be like, okay, you know Illidan's coming, but you don't have an Illidan player on your team. You go, okay, someone's got to play Brightwing this game. You know, like you gotta anticipate the counter pick and plan to do that, and try to do it earlier, so they don't take, you know, their next pick isn't Brightwing to take the Illidan pick off the board, and they're going for Illidan last, things like that. Although if you're going Rhaegar and Abathur, odds are you're hoping either Rhaegar or Illidan is first pick, so you can avoid losing the core of your team. And the other thing it points out, too, is if they start off picking a support and a tank, odds are when you have 2 picks coming up, you should probably take the 2 highest damage, just to take those heroes off the board and make them have to have a harder choice. Purple in chat is saying stealing only works if that pick also works in your comp, kind of what we covered. If you're going a split push style comp and they have Kerrigan, denying Uther probably isn't worth not getting Brightwing for yourself, which is a very, very good point. And yes, Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. What do you guys pick first? Do you guys pick the tank first, or the support, or the DPS, or does it just depend on who's party leader?
I think map plays into that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to specify, because your needs are going to change depending on what you're going into.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to... I think taking a tank early is kind of a mistake most of the time. There's a lot of good tanks in this game right now. I mean, between Anubarak, ETC, Muradin, Arthas, all these characters are really strong tanks that can fill a role, and it's kind of silly to take one when you have like such limited options as far as like strong range DPS goes, specialists that fill certain needs. Like, for example, if I know a player on our team really is strong with just 1 or 2 characters, I try to put them first and tell them pick that character. You know, like we were doing that with you early, Element, where you were just kind of like in a Sylvanas place at that time, and we were like, okay, you pick first. Yeah. You're taking Sylvanas. She's strong anyways on most maps. Go. So yeah, what they have here picked, set up as the safe picks are for tanks, Muradin and Anubarak, Brightwing and Uther as the support, Tychus and Vala, and Zagara and the Lost Vikings, all all put down as safe picks. Digi, what are your thoughts? Digi and Xeno. We'll start with Digi and go to Xeno. What do you guys think about those safe picks? Do you agree with those? Are there any you'd add or take away? Digi, you first.
All right. No, I think that's pretty solid. I'm not sure about Zagara. I mean, she's kind of vulnerable during the laning phase. But other than that, I mean, the Anubarak is really good right now. Muradin's hard to bring down when played well. Brightwing's really good, and Uther brings a lot to a team. I mean, as you can see, a lot of the safe picks are also strong picks. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tend to agree with the Zagara pick. I don't think she's as safe as they say, just because a good Nova is going to take her out. And mid-game, when she has no escape tools, all she has to do is... I mean, you have to play a constantly smart positioning game with her. Now, if you're amazing with Zagara, that's one thing. But just putting her down as a safe pick, I don't quite agree with, just because she's so vulnerable to being burst out, like, right away. Xeno, what do you think about all these?
I think both Tychus and Vala are also very vulnerable. They do have the range. Tychus is a little bit more squishy than Vala and doesn't really have as good of escape mechanisms. So I don't really think Tychus should be as much as a safe pick. I guess what they're really going for is there's really no way to really tell what you're doing with those safe picks. If you picked any of those first, they wouldn't really know right off the bat what to counter you with or what to try and steal from you if you
Yeah.
pick those.
Yeah, I feel like most ranged assassins fall into that range too, where they can be hit really hard. It's just, at least Tychus and Vala have escape mechanisms. Sagara's just like, if her creep isn't set up in the right spot, she's gonna move like a slow bug thing that can get killed easily, for lack
Right,
of a
but
better
with-
metaphor.
With Zagara, a lot of her abilities don't actually require you to move up very far, though, because her Hydralisk, you just set on someone and walk away. Her little, the Banelings, you just shoot them and you can move away from it. They just go and do their thing. Same with the Roaches, you just plant them and go away, so you can run away early.
Okay, you talked me into it. She might be considered a safe pick then.
If that's kind of the way they're going for with Zagara, I think Nazebo should be similar in that range too, because you have the zombie wall you can put up to escape with, and spiders and frogs that do the same thing.
Yeah, and you can't really tell anymore. It used to be like, okay, they got Nazebo. They're probably definitely going to take ETC and try to rock, the Ravenous Spirit. But most Nazebos nowadays are taking Gargantuan, so it's less of a tell on what your team's going to be, and it's still a strong pick. All the crossover here, pretty much in the strong picks. Anubric and Muradin are both there. ETC is the new one added in the strong pick. Then we have Rhaegar, also listed in the strong pick. Jaina and Kelthus in the strong pick, without Tychus there anymore. And Sylvanas also listed in the strong pick for the specialist. So, excuse me. Pretty much par for the course there. I mean, everybody knows Jaina and Kelthus, Sylvanas, Rhaegar, and ETC are strong picks. There's no real argument for that. I mean, they're all very good characters. Now, they have a lot here. We're not going to go into, obviously, every single character that is good, but what this guide does is tells you kind of like characters that are strong on every map, and what you may want to consider when you're picking characters for certain maps. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of focus on the Dragonshire because that's a map I always have problems with. And looking over it, I can really see what they're saying here and why it makes sense. Because I got to tell you, when teams are made up of compositions of these characters, I often have a lot of problems, especially Murky, Muradin, Raynor. They're all just pain in the asses to get off the shrine, and they can duel you very well. There's obviously a bunch more characters listed here, but I really like what they how they break this down and tell you what character works on maps. And I know you guys all had a chance to go over it. Element, are there any characters you think need to be added? Because I mean, completely absent from this guide is Arthas, and we'll let Digi go over that. But is there anything you noticed on these map picks that you feel like isn't true or should be added?
Well, what I find really great about this guide is that it coincides with the spreadsheet that I've been keeping. So in order to help me develop as a player, I've been keeping score on a spreadsheet by map, telling my win rate across different characters that I play in each map, and it coincides quite a bit. Maps like the Dragonshire, you need so much mobility, so Sagara with the Nidus network or whatever it's called is wonderful in that map. I'm surprised that Falstad isn't in the Dragonshire map because he has really good mobility as well.
Yeah, he definitely does a good job on Dragonshire. I've been blown up by quite a few flying in, being able to take things. Zeno has pointed out that Lily is absent from a lot of these things as a strong pick. I know you and Digi have disagreeing thoughts on this, so we'll let Digi lead off with his disagreement, and then Zeno, you can talk about it after. Digi, why don't you think Lily is that strong?
I just her early game output isn't up there with the other dedicated healers. She's a niche pick in which you can use things like increased blinding wind misses to stifle an Illidan, but That's something you're going to want to pick late, and the other healer's outputs are something you're going to want to try and get a hold of before the enemy does.
All right, Xeno, what do you think about that?
I think she's still decent. She's kind of like the melee hero of the healers in the sense that she really is only good if you get that advantage early on.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of like the melee heroes are. Once they get the disadvantage in levels, they just can't catch up. But I think that's the same thing with her. Her heals are only really good if you have that advantage.
You know, the spots that I really like Lilia in, honestly, is as a last pick support against a team that didn't really draft well when it came to stuns. Because if they're not able to truly answer Jug of 1,000 Cups most of the game, it is the best heal in the game. Like, there's no other like it. I would take it over Malfurion's wins any day of the week if, obviously, if she can't be stunned out of it. So I think she's honestly like the best pick you can take if they kind of like walk themselves into a team that has no real answer for that ultimate, but that's just my opinion. We have Purple in chat pointing out that he says I disagree where he says Hammer is good on mines. We'll let our resident Sergeant Hammer, Master Blitz, cover that. Or Blitz, how do you feel when you play Hammer on mines? Do you think that's a spot she's good at or not good at?
It's... Well, usually I'm not happy to be on the mines with Hammer.
Yeah. It's... You don't think she's very strong in there?
No, not as good as some others, I would think.
What, now, maybe, like, Sergeant Hammer's just good because you can leave her out in the lane to siege.
Yeah.
But Sylvanas does that better, Asmodan does that better, and Sergeant Hammer's mobility is booty butt cheeks, so I can definitely see why that wouldn't work. Okay, so we're going to move on a little bit. We're kind of going into the composition portion of this article, where it talks about the standard setup, the double tank setup, and the double healer setup, and what does good against what counters what. It's a lot of good information here where they mention the team fight compositions, focus around creating a roster of heroes that are strong in a team fight situations. They have the pick compositions where they're good at isolating individual targets and killing them as quickly as possible. The split pick composition, one solo laner, often a specialist, push down 14 lanes. Hard engage compositions, which focus on heavily diving on the back line of the enemy teams. Safe compositions, teams that have good mobilities and strong disengage, and poke compositions where long range aims to the opponent without letting them either come close or having them weaken enough to so when they do get close to you, they will probably lose the engage with you. I really enjoy all this stuff that they pointed out because it kind of like put me in a mindset of how I want to draft the team that I'm looking to use and how to counter other teams. So I never really realized that teams could be so much when it comes to or there were so many different options when you were building a team. Did any of you guys like, or I mean, what do you think when you saw this?
That's the breakdown on team compositions, right?
Correct.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies you can apply, and they mix and match in a counter type setup. There's more depth to the game than a lot of people think is going on.
Yeah, and right here he says, like, teamfight compositions are often strong against pick and split compositions. Pick compositions are often strong against safe and poke compositions. Split push are often strong against poke and safe. Hard engage are strong against poke and split. Safe is strong against hard engage and teamfight. And poke is strong against teamfight compositions. And he lists their weaknesses too, which, if you go through, you can see those. But I don't want to get too far into this article because we have a few more things we like to cover, and this discussion is going long as it is. But there's definitely a lot of good information here. And real quick, we'll go over the enemy picks and what is a good counter pick, because that's probably what everybody's looking to see. everyone frickin' hates Illidan. Nobody likes facing Illidan. People who like playing Illidan are often really good with him, or, you're solo queuing by yourself in Hero League and the person who picked Illidan is just destroying your team. So Illidan draws a lot of ire most of the time from a lot of players. And let's see here. We have, as a counter pick to Illidan, Brightwing, Muradin, Tassadar, Uther, and Sylvanas. Element, what do you think about that? Do you like those counter picks?
I would really, really agree with Brightwing. Nothing sets my heart a glee more than polymorphing an Illidan. But I'm not sure about Sylvanas. If she doesn't really have that good of a mobility or escape, apart from her E ability, and you have to wait for the Banshees to be away from Illidan enough before you hit E again and then teleport to that location, and then Illidan can catch up with you pretty quickly, so I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Digi.
I find moving fire, you're waiting until, the end of the mid-game phase for moving fire at 13, but that really helps in kiting away from him. Other than that, it's an early game, I don't see it, but she kind of scales into being able to deal with him.
Right.
Yeah, I could see the vulnerability helping. Obviously that's why Brightwing's good, and Tassadar can kind of put the shield on whoever he's focusing. Uther and Muradin can stun him out and leave him there to die when he gets overzealous. But
it seems as though Sylvanas kind of grows into it, whereas the other heroes kind of are good counter picks from the get-go.
Yeah, just outright good counter picks, definitely. Jaina, Kelthus, etc. We'll go over Kelthus real quick. Uther, Illidan, Kerrigan, Tassadar, and Tyrael. I definitely agree with this. Kelthus relies on bursting people, and if you can catch him out and stunned, he's squishy as hell. So, and all these characters have ways to get in easily, or out-harass him in Tassadar's case with long-range psionic storms that will force him into a back. I think Tyrael in general is just great for countering squish. The only problem I have sometimes countering squish with Tyrael is if they take Ice Block. Jaina was taking Ice Block the other night. I'd go in, I'd Judgment her, she'd immediately Ice Block, and it really kind of screwed up my engages. So be wary of that when using Tyrael to counter characters who have access to Ice Block. Rhaegar, Tyrael, Kerrigan, Muradin, and Ubrek all counter him. That's pretty much... Yeah, you want people who can stun Rhaegar and stop him from getting away, or stun him out of his chance of casting his ult, so I definitely see that.
That's a very tight window.
Yeah, you gotta kind of be right on it, so... It's one of those things where you gotta anticipate, maybe, okay, we burst this guy down, he's obviously gonna go for that, get on him with a stun, but... It is. You can kind of theory craft all these things out loud, but actually executing all this stuff in game is a whole different story.
Yeah. I think it'd be more of a stun Rhaegar immediately and then burst down whatever you're killing really quick in the same process, because he has to cast it, then it has a little bit of a delay time, so if you make it so he can't cast it right away, he's not going to be able to catch it. Yeah, definitely.
And I know you weren't really on board with the Uther counters, can you tell me why? They have Sylvanas, Brightwing, Malfurion, and Chen listed here as Uther counters.
They have a tank and other healers to counter a healer. I don't see how Brightwing or Malfurion would really be a counter for him. I suppose it's more of just the crowd control. The CC is not really trying to kill him, just to keep him disabled. Right,
yeah,
is that what they're going for?
I'm guessing because a lot of the times too, he has to put himself in a frontline position to be able to get done what he does, whether it be using his Divine Storm or his Hammer of Justice. And if Brightwing polymorphs him while he's right in front of a teammate, or Malfurion puts that root down and he gets stuck, you can kind of catch him out easy. That's my guess, anyways.
Yeah, because I don't think any of them could really take him out. He's pretty sturdy.
Yeah, definitely. So, anyways, that is the article in a nutshell. If you want the full details, Weskimo.com, look up to the guide, How to Win a Draft. Great read. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate that it was written, and I'm going to continue to go to the site to check out what else he is doing. Purple also points out that Brightwing does offer cleanse for his CC, and Emerald Wind can easily wreck him if he overextends, but it's not really a counter. It's just kind of Brightwing being Brightwing. So, yes. Anyways, check out that guide. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and give a quick plug to a friend, a Hero of the Storm friend, and a guy who's been nothing but supportive of everything I do with my work, and that is Chuck Sanchez. He has a new podcast that is a World of Warcraft podcast. He said he briefly discussed Heroes of the Storm and got his wife to play. So go ahead and check out his podcast. It's called Lagging Balls, and that's obviously on the iTunes, Apple.com US podcast Lagging Balls. Go ahead, check it out. I know I just found out about this right before the show, so I haven't had time to check it out yet, but I will be checking that out in the future for sure. Thank you, Chuck. We have a question from Carl White. Carl asked, do you think that the introduction of very high burst damage via Kayle and Jaina is a good direction for Heroes of the Storm to be taking, and should auto attack builds be tuned to be more viable? Currently, Hammer and Illidan are about the only auto attack champions, and Hammer isn't too good in Illidan's melee. Vala, Tychus, Falstad, etc. all usually go ability-based builds over pure auto attacks. I'll let us all individually address this. Zeno, what do you think?
I think the very high burst is a terrible idea. Blitz and I did a match with Kelthus and Jaina, and we had basically to see who could do the most damage. And we melted entire enemy teams in seconds. It wasn't even right at all. And I think they really need to do something about that. I don't know how they would do it, but I think the high burst is not going to be a very good way to go, especially if they put any more high burst mage type characters in. But for the auto attack builds, they should definitely tune them to be more viable. I think they should. They have plenty of counters in there. They have blinds. They have tank abilities like block that are just going unused because it's like the question said, there really aren't a lot of auto attack champions right now. There's really no reason to focus on them with all the abilities being so bursty. But they have all the tools there to counter it, so if they made them more viable, it would just make more options when you're making your builds and building your teams.
I will say that Raynor has very strong auto attacks. I've done builds with him where it's easy to just pump out a lot of burst damage with his auto attacks. But that's about the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Blitz, are you right there with your brother on that? Is that kind of how...
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. But also, Tyrande has a variation of an auto attack build too.
Yeah. It's kind of it kind of does okay now that she has Nexus Frenzy too.
Yeah.
Did she?
I'm alright with high burst as long as it doesn't come in combination with control like Kael'thas has access to. Jaina's is very positional and avoidable, whereas Kael'thas is not.
Yeah, I've been having a nightmare dealing with Kael'thas lately, especially if I'm playing a support character or I'm playing like a tank who isn't like super like high on the health pool, let's say like a Nubarek or something. He does a good job of blowing those guys up because of his control.
I also think there needs to be like an element of counterplay. Like you can get out of Jaina's damage abilities. I mean, if you're not CC'd by somebody else, and if you're talking about two character combos, that's one thing.
Right.
But like Phoenix denies you access to an area, or you're just gonna eat it. And what is that? Pyroblast? I don't really like the ability because there's not many options besides pick a character that can somehow duck it.
Yeah, and it's very rare that you outrun it and get all the way back to your Hall of the Storms behind the safety of your little wall. So, yes, indeed. Element, do you have anything you want to add to this question from Carl?
I kind of feel that introducing so many high damage DPS is kind of bringing in Face Hunter into Heroes of the Storm, which I'm not very happy about. Face Hunter is something that I'm very sour about.
Whoa. Let's not go comparing anything to Face Hunter. That's in its whole own league of evilness. That is a strong statement from Element.
Well, I feel very strongly against Face Hunter, so yeah.
So
But I would like to say that I do play an auto attack Valor, and it seems to be doing pretty good for me. So, will you give that a try?
yeah,
I agree on auto attack Vala. I think it's, better for dropping a priority target than her multi-shot build is. Although Hungering Arrow is great for isolated targets.
yeah. Tychus auto attack just doesn't work because of the nature of the minigun, in my opinion, too. Like, Tychus just kind of like, you wind the minigun up by standing still and continually auto attacking somebody, and just standing still often doesn't work. What his minigun is really good at is ripping up buildings and mercs, not, used as auto attacks against heroes, so you find yourself not really benefiting from taking any of the talents that buff it.
Or you waste your escape mechanic to auto wind it.
Yeah, that too. You really don't want to do that because, you dash in to stand still. That doesn't even really make sense. Or you dash backwards to stand still. Why? I don't even consider. Half the time I forget it even does that anymore. I just think of it as this dash. So I think there definitely needs to be a fix on Tychus, or they need to drop the whole he can be an auto attack champion, because it's confusing to players. You got people thinking, oh, I've got Vampiric Assault and it's going to help me sustain. Well, no, not really, because you got to stand still to gain life, and odds are heroes are going to go, okay, you stand right there while I rip you apart. Thanks, Tychus. So, yeah, they kind of need to fix. When you have Valo or Raynor, they're characters that can walk and shoot, They're really good at, kind of backing you off into a position with their harass abilities and then walking and shooting you out of a lane, or, using positioning to keep you away by backing up, taking a shot, things like that. So it's just not there with Tychus. Falstad, I actually love his auto attack, but really the only auto attack thing you really need to take is the thing that really ups his auto attack damage when the hammer is out. Then you increase the hammer range, and then you take Nexus Frenzy. Those three things, dedicated pure auto attack would be kind of silly with him, but definitely you can do a lot of damage with that boost to his auto attacks when the hammer's out. As far as high burst, I'm definitely with Digi in that. If one character has the ability to control you and burst you, that is ridiculous. But when it comes to characters like Nova and Jaina, I think they're fine. It's just, it can be annoying to deal with at certain points, but if they don't have that, what is their character,
Right, but it is a team game, and you're gonna have CCs combined with them. That's how it's gonna be every time.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about being in a murky octograb followed by a snipe and a precision strike. That's for sure. But okay, and that'll wrap up the question from Carl. Thank you for asking a question, and that will segue nice into our last segment for the discussion portion of this show, and that is I have created an email account for everyone. Yay! Email, Twitter, woo! You can talk to us at nnohots@gmail.com or tweet us at nnohots. And those are two abbreviations for Nexus Night Owls, Heroes of the Storm, if that's easier to remember. If you would like to send us any emails or tweet us anything, any questions, anything you'd like to mention, anything you'd like us to plug on the show, we are very, very flexible in that regard and would love to do it. So go ahead and send us an email or send us a tweet and let us know what's going on. So for now, I'm going to cut off the stream, and then I'm going to turn it right back on to do our gaming portion. What's going to happen is I'm going to cut it off and on between each game to make it easier for us to upload these as individual portions of the episode to YouTube, so it's more digestible for the common viewer. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to the discussion portion of the Nexus Night Owl, and those of you in chat room, sit tight for a moment.